I've got a lot of information. In fact, I finally got into Hess's book, Revival of Israel, Rome and Jerusalem. And this is fascinating because, just a little bit of a blurb on it, Moses Hess was writing about utopian socialism way before anyone else. He was writing about the revival of the nation-state of Israel as a quasi-secular, quasi-religious nation-state way before anyone else. He was 40 years before the rest of the Zionist movement, Herzl, Weizmann, and the others. And I'm actually enjoying the book because it gives us a lot of precision on exactly what was going on with the nation-state of Israel, its founding, its ethos, its socialist originations, because Moses Hess was a committed utopian socialist. But I think one of the most interesting sections so far is page 114, where he discusses the use of Masonic lodges to bring all of the world religions into one, to accept a new future Masonic religion where Israel would kind of be at the center, at the core, or Jerusalem at the core of it. He says, more reasonable are the attempts of the fusionists, like my friend Rabbi Hirsch of Luxembourg. They're utilizing Freemasonry as a means to amalgamate all the historical religions into one. The Luxembourg rabbi, the Frankfurt rabbi Hirsch, developed the idea of fusion in his lectures, which he delivered at the Luxembourg Lodge. And later he published the book, Humanity as a Religion. All that remains is for the rabbis to close up their Reform temples and send their children to the Masonic temples. And then you can see it's right there. He also talks about there's a lot in this book, but he talks about how, as we noted, as I said to Ridvan, he discusses here that he's hopeful in the 1860s because the Rothschild brothers are on his side and they favor some of these endeavors. They were not fully on with the political agenda, as we learned from the John Roberts book. And also, I didn't expect him to be, you might think, oh, he was some committed Jewish theologian. No, he wasn't. This is interesting. In fact, he had a Spinozist view. He was a committed Spinozist. Spinoza, of course, taught pantheism. God is manifesting himself through all of the manifestations of history, so it's a kind of a process philosophy. It's very Hegelian at times, too. And he talks about thesis, antithesis, synthesis. So we understand that there's overlap between Hegel's Hermeticism, which is out of Kabbalism, out of alchemy, Moses Hess's founding prophetic in a, not a literal prophetic sense, but 40 years before the actual Zionist movement, prophetic idea of eternal matter, dialectics, and the synthesis that produces the future movement moving towards the Jewish eschaton, in his view. Now, it's interesting because he almost became a Christian. I don't know what kind. It probably would have been some kind of liberal, progressive form or something. But he married a Christian woman, but never converted, but never really practiced or believed in anything other than like a pantheistic Judaism out of Spinoza. But if you remember, Spinoza was rejected by the Judaism of his day because, well, pantheism isn't really rabbinic even. But then again, you might could argue that pantheism is rabbinic because it really, if you're a Neoplatonist Kabbalist, you could just as easily flip that over into pantheism. But he talks about religion as relativistic and subjectivist. He says you can't really say what's true or false because everything is in a dialectical process. And those are things that surprise me, but that doesn't surprise me because, as you know, we have covered the very academic text by Sinisioglu about Plethon and the Orthodox encounter with the radical Platonists. This book, Radical Platonism in Byzantium. And what Sinisioglu's thesis is that the French Revolution and the Jacobins were influenced by Spinoza in their Illuminism. Guess who says the exact same thing? Moses Hess. Moses Hess says that Spinozism births the French Revolution. Or at least it has a heavy influence on it because it's a naturalistic, almost atheistic approach. And Hess seems to be of the opinion that atheism works like a wrecking ball to destroy the existing societies to bring in the socialist future utopia, which is the Jewish. So the Jewish eschaton is a socialist future utopia, according to Moses Hess. And this is very necessary to read because Hess was, again, not accepted in his day. He was rejected. People didn't read his book. Nobody bought it. And it was discovered 40 years later. And he was then hailed as a sort of a hero of liberal progressive Judaism, a hero of the founding of the nation state of Israel, post-Balfour Declaration. In the 1960s, they moved his remains and buried him in Israel near the Sea of Galilee. But if you think about other figures that played an important role, right around the same time, guess who else was writing? Oh, this guy. Yeah. Your boy Carl. Your boy Carl. Carl! Did you know that when Rick in Walking Dead says Carl all the time, he's actually referring to Karl Marx? Carl! I'm being silly. Guys, if you want to support the stream, you can via Super Chat. Super Chats are done through Streamlabs. The link is pinned in the chat. You can also get the link in the show description. I will link it one more time for the lazies. For the filthy hobbitses in the audience. Filthy hobbitses! So that you can send my precious, a.k.a. fiat, which gets converted into Bitcoin. EA, $5. That was a great discussion on Elijah's rift with Jamie, Ben, and Elijah. Good conversation. Here's to more exposure to orthodoxy for the world. Adani Plaitis, 5 Canadian. Are we near World War III? I don't know, but that's at least what we want to consider. And dialectics and dialectical tension is really the essence of the crucial puzzle piece that no one gets to understanding, reaching the ultimate synthesis. Now, from the Orthodox Christian perspective, the ultimate synthesis that they want out of this never-ending progressive revolution that Hess says really is what kicks off at the French Revolution, because it's wiping away all of the Christian civilization. He says that's preparing the way for the Jewish messianic conception of the eschaton, which I'm not sure if he actually, I mean, sometimes it sounds like he believes in a, I'm going to have to read the rest of the book. I just got it the other day. Sometimes it seems like he believes in some kind of Messiah, which we would say is Antichrist. But then sometimes it sounds like he's saying that, no, the Jewish people group themselves will be the salvation of the world. And so we should then just worship the Jews because Jews are then the Messiah. It's hard to tell exactly what he thinks at times, but the point being is that what surprised me was the self-awareness of dialectical oppositions and dialectical tensions, and how that is throughout history, through this process philosophy and process theology, getting us to a kind of Jerusalem-centered eschaton. But I think it would be a mistake to think, I mean, he had significant disagreements with Marx and Engels, but I mean, who really cares? It's all pushing the same stuff. What's interesting is that it's basically just putting history in the context of dialectical tensions leading to essentially an antichrist system coming out on top of utopian socialism, right? I'm assuming that what he disagreed with Karl Marx and Engels over was the pantheism, because he doesn't, I mean, he's a Spinozist, so he believes in the pantheistic philosophy and theology of Spinoza, and I'm guessing that Marx would really just be against all that, because Marx is just a straight up dialectical, materialist, right? Diamat, hismat, etc. So Roman Jerusalem is a very interesting book, and it's necessary, but what again I think is fascinating is to tie it back into the mullahs and the ayatollahs, is the Western role in British intelligence, especially, and the CIA, in having backdoor deals and longer standing deals with the Ayatollah. So not just Kashani, but also, I mean, not just Khomeini, but also Ayatollah Kashani. But nobody really talks about that.